Then this guy started telling everything that had happened. A few days before, he came home later than usual and found his younger brother wasn't home. He's a pretty weak kid, and because we live in a slum with no guards, he was worried that something might have happened to the kid. Immediately after that, he rushed to find his little brother, and discovered that a mysterious man was using a knife to attack his younger brother. Then after a brawl, the blonde guy clearly saw this guy's face. It was the merchant sub from before. So the kid has been in this condition since that day, Zeke said. Yes, at first the kid wasn't injured anywhere and even woke up soon after, so I thought he was okay. But gradually the kid got thinner and had no strength, and soon the kid was fading away like a vegetable. Zeke heard that and asked again, so you asked me for help the first time we met because of this? That's right, I was going to steal the dagger that he stabbed my brother with and make a deal to exchange the return of the dagger. I wanted him to tell me how to cure my brother. Of course, because of someone official, the plan failed. Lavella, who was next to him, immediately heard that these words were mocking her, but she could only say, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you, I simply thought a weak person was being beaten. These words made the blonde guy even angrier. He kept asking Lavella a barrage of questions. Why? Just because we attacked him, or is it because I'm poor, because I look like a thug? Does it seem like those are all your reasons for distinguishing between the weak and the strong? These questions made Lavella's face extremely confused and worried. She didn't know how to answer these questions at all. In the end, Zeke stood up to ease the atmosphere. He clapped his hands together to attract everyone's attention and said, okay. She just lives the life of a noble and doesn't have much experience yet, so try to understand her, he said while putting his arm around this guy's shoulder. But even if he said that, this guy's face was still very uncomfortable. It seems like this is not something that can be easily brushed off so quickly. And on this side, Zeke also has a question. By the way, why don't you hate me? Zeke asked. This blonde guy didn't understand the problem very well after hearing that, so he had to explain. I mean, I betrayed you after she appeared, shouldn't you hate me too? The blonde guy on this side heard that and answered a little shyly, because it was the first time. It was the first time someone said they would help me without needing anything in return. After saying this, he was also blushing, and Zeke next to him was surprised. And not long after that, after making sure that his younger brother's condition had temporarily stabilized, the two also began to leave the house. At this time, Zeke also began to ask, what do you think about this, Miss Lavella? Lavella heard that and began to stroke her chin and think, then said, during the treat instead of Vitala felt the disgusting energy of Ver, I rather guess that he is a follower of Valor. Zeke heard that and decided, then I guess we have to start from there. Lavella heard that and immediately asked, did you discover anything? Yeah, let's go there first. And the destination of the two is the house of this merchant sub. At this time, he was still happily arranging his things, unaware that something bad was about to happen to him. Suddenly, there was a very loud strange noise, which caught his attention. So he started to open his basement and went down to check. Strange, is it a rat? And at this time, Zeke suddenly appeared from somewhere and put his arm around his shoulder and said, long time no see. Seeing Zeke's appearance, Sub started to turn pale. What, why is he here? But before he could think for long, Zeke also told him some bad news. Get ready to eat dirt until the end of the day. Oh, don't worry about someone bothering us like that time. Then he leaned close to his ear and whispered, you saw her, didn't you? The angel who protected you has returned today as a hell angel to punish you. Then the official beating and interrogation began. With just one kick, Zeke kicked Sub rolling towards the statue. But this crew-cut guy, even after being beaten a lot, still hasn't woken up and is still wondering, why are you doing this to me? Who knows, why don't you ask the fish behind you, right? Zeke said in a sarcastic voice, but after he said this and saw that Sub didn't react, he kicked him a few more times. Still don't know, 2 more slaps now. Sub at this time also knew that if he couldn't explain this, he would be doomed, so he hurriedly said, wait, you don't think I'm a follower of Valor, do you? I'm not a follower of Valor. Zeke heard this answer and wasn't surprised at all. I know, you're not a follower. You're a disgusting bastard clinging to the followers of Valor, just hoping to get a few crumbs of bread. These words hit Sub's sore spot, causing him to grit his teeth. And on this side, Lavella just silently watched how Zeke solved the problem. But then her eyes started to widen. Because at this time Zeke was slowly drawing his sword. Wait, Zeke, why are you drawing your sword? Lavella asked in a worried voice. Zeke heard that and said, now that we've found that damn fish statue, we don't need this guy anymore. After hearing that, Lavella still had a hesitant look on her face. Seeing someone get killed right in front of her seemed too sudden, but even so, she didn't say anything to stop it. The thug knew that if he didn't say something useful, he was done for. After racking his brain for a few seconds, he blurted out, I know where the other statues are. This actually piqued Zeke's interest a bit, so he grabbed the guy by the collar and asked, "Where are they?" The thug knew he'd made the right bet, this information would keep him safe for now. He even got cockier and said, "Why would I just easily tell you?" Then he started threatening Zeke, "If you lay a finger on me, I won't tell you where the statues are." When Zeke heard that, he started looking at him like he was a clueless idiot. This look confused the thug. "What's with that look? Oh, so you finally understand the situation, you dumb thug. I should have taken care of you and the other punks in the slums sooner." Hearing these words, I have to give credit to the thug's IQ. I don't know where he got the courage to say that. At the same time, his words shocked Lavella. "Is this the real you?" Hearing that, the thug turned to Lavella with a disgusting smile and said, "What, you still think I'm that naive idiot? That stupid bitch is the reason people call you a witch." His words made Lavella even more confused. "Why are you doing this? You said you don't even worship Valor." The thug scoffed. "For money, of course for money. I was offered a huge sum just to transfer life force to the statue. Who would turn down such a lucrative offer? This crappy old Zeke store. And the time I spent in this rotten place are all because of my old man and my grandpa. This is my chance to end it all." After hearing these words, Lavella's face turned pale. This was probably the first time she had truly seen the vile nature of someone. The thug continued, "I've dragged this out for too long, now let me go. I'll tell you the location of the Valor statues once I'm out of here," the thug said in a very confident voice, sure that he had the upper hand. But unfortunately for him, Zeke just said coldly, "Oh, well, what to do, I changed my mind." These words made the thug's face freeze, and the smile on his lips disappeared. Zeke started waving the knife in his hand and said, "You're going to die right now." These words left the thug speechless, as if he couldn't believe his ears. "What? If it wasn't for me, the Valor statues." But before he could finish, Zeke interrupted him, "I can find them without you. And you don't even know the location, do you?" As he said this, he grabbed the thug by the collar and lifted him off the ground. At this moment, Zeke's face was filled with murderous intent, and the thug knew he wasn't joking, so he turned to Lavella for help. "Young Miss Lavella, save me, please help me. Aren't I the weaker one here? The Carwoodmen are supposed to protect the weak, right? What I said before, I didn't mean it like that." At this moment, Zeke also started to look at Lavella to see how she would react in this situation. The thug continued to beg for forgiveness, and those words made Lavella start to tremble. But then she took a breath and said coldly, "Kill him." These words were like a death sentence, turning the thug's face pale. And after hearing Lavella's decision, Zeke didn't hesitate any longer. He slowly raised the blade in his hand, and amidst the thug's screams and pleas, Zeke struck. Lavella even turned away because she didn't want to witness this scene. But then Zeke's voice rang out, startling her, "Don't ever let me see you again." It turned out he hadn't finished the thug off, but just injured his hand as punishment. Then they both started heading back to the blonde girl's house, which would temporarily serve as their hideout. At the same time, countless thoughts were running through Lavella's head after witnessing everything that had happened. Zeke knew that her mind was in complete turmoil right now, so he approached her and asked, "Are you okay?" As he spoke, he offered her a piece of bread. "I wonder if this is stolen or bought." Hearing Zeke's question, Lavella looked up and said, "I feel like I keep making the wrong judgments." The thug, Timmy, "I trusted the opposite side just based on what I heard about them. I thought the mayor's story was fabricated. Lady Karna always told me not to be blinded by prejudice." As she spoke, her face became even paler. Seeing this, Zeke comforted her, "Do you feel guilty? I'm fine, so you don't need to feel guilty towards me." Hearing these words, Lavella's spirit stabilized a bit, and she said, "I'm sorry, I guess I have to ask you for advice this time." Hearing that, Zeke said while munching on his bread, "Me, what do I have? I can't think of any advice to comfort you. So you have to solve it yourself. No matter what you do, time will heal all wounds. Self-torture doesn't bring any results other than making yourself suffer." These experienced and mature words really surprised Lavella. "You're much more mature than I thought." Then Lavella suggested, "So, are we going to look for the other statues now?" "Yeah, I know roughly where they are," Zeke said. Hearing that, Lavella's face started to look a little sad, and she said, "I'm sorry, I can't help at all." "What are you saying? From now on, you'll be taking the lead?" Zeke said, and these words also surprised Lavella a bit. Then that evening, they broke into somewhere again. Then it was another scene of knocking out the familiar guards. Then they went to the room containing the statue. At this time, Lavella wondered, "How do you know it would be here?" Zeke replied, "Because these guys are hired with money like subs. Now, all you have to do is channel your holy energy into this brush and paint." Hearing Zeke say that, Lavella quickly took the brush and channeled her holy energy into it, then returned it to Zeke. Next, Zeke quickly drew scribbled symbols all over the statue. This statue makes it a little more foolish. Finally, he asked Lavella to channel her holy energy into the statue one more time. But this is a little too simple, so Lavella is worried. That's it, are we just going to leave it like that? Zeke heard this and said, yeah, it's okay, the holy energy has been absorbed. Let's move on. Saying this, Zeke also turned and left. But Lavella still hesitated, looking at the statue and thinking, can this really stop the ritual? At the same time, somewhere, Wige was carrying Han and running like the wind, making him almost throw up. Mr. Wige, I'm falling. But suddenly at this moment, Wige realized something. So he didn't hesitate and threw Han face first into the ground. Sorry, I have to go first. After saying that, he also left as fast as the wind. Han on this side still didn't understand the problem. Why suddenly, Mr. Wige, how could you leave me here? Saying this, Han suddenly felt goosebumps, like countless eyes were staring at him from behind. This also scared Han to death. He hurriedly ran after Wige. Back to Zeke. At this time Lavella also had many thoughts in her head. Is what I'm doing now really right? From then until now, I've always been looking for statues and doing what Zeke said. I don't know what those runes he draws on those statues are. And when Lavella thought of this, a growl suddenly sounded in front, attracting her attention. It's been a while since we've seen this zombie. He looks a little different from last time, doesn't he? Then also noticing the slow appearance of this zombie, he continued, thinking about it, he looks slower and walks more strangely than before. Thank goodness, it seems what we're doing is working. As he spoke, he reached out and knocked the zombie unconscious. The number of zombies wandering around the city due to the influence of the ritual must have decreased. It's all thanks to you, Miss Lavella. Hearing this, Lavella was so happy she almost cried. She clasped her hands together and thank God, that's so lucky. And Zeke, seeing her expression, also felt happy. Your expression wasn't so excited when you saw those runes. You were quite concerned about those scribbled runes, weren't you? Zeke's words made Lavella startled and a little embarrassed. I'm sorry, it's not that I don't trust you, it's just that I've never heard of this method in Carwoodman. But I can't believe it's so powerful. The person who created this rune is a genius. Do you really think so? Zeke said. But I think it's almost time to deal with the key statue at the mayor's house. Hearing this, Lavella began to worry and asked if it would be okay. Zeke was still very confident, saying, we've destroyed all the statues in Porty Quite, the deputy mayor must be at the mayor's house, right? It's very likely that he has planned to use that place as the center of the ritual. Saying this, Zeke decided, alright, let's go then, shall we? So once again, they started breaking into the mayor's mansion. Then, relying on Lavella's sensing abilities, they found the room containing the statue. It's this place, I can clearly sense an unusual source of energy behind this door. Zeke heard this and said, Miss Lavella, please step back, from here, let me lead. After saying that, Zeke slowly started to open the door, but who would have thought that when the door wasn't even fully opened, a magical attack flew out from inside. This sudden attack really startled both of them, but luckily it didn't hit anyone. That really surprised me, Zeke said, and Lavella behind him also worriedly asked, Zeke, are you okay? Zeke heard this and laughed, saying, I'm fine, what's that pathetic attack? But more importantly, it's strange that I can't sense them. Following Zeke's gaze, there were two specters holding scythes, floating in the doorway. Lavella saw their forms and was startled and panicked. Shadows, how can high-level monsters be here? On the opposite side, after seeing that these two were unharmed after the first attack, it began to charge forward for another attack. But this attack was easily blocked. At the same time, he felt a little disappointed, since they only know how to assassinate, I thought they would be a little better. After saying that, he used his sword to deflect its scythe. Then with 2 or 3 slashes, he sent it to its ghostly doom, and what was more puzzling was what kind of assassination monster goes into direct combat like this. But suddenly, the shadow beneath Zeke's feet began to lengthen, and something started to rise from within it. Lavella saw this and quickly warned, Zeke, behind you. He heard this and turned around, discovering that a shadow was preparing to sneak attack him. But this was not enough to trouble a demon king like Zeke. Your assassination skills aren't bad. But you've met your match in me. As he said that, Zeke unleashed a strike that cleaved it in two. After seeing both shadows had been destroyed, Lavella worriedly asked, what exactly is going on? Why can shadows appear here? Zeke thought that the Veiler probably summoned them. This made Lavella even more puzzled. Impossible, the ritual should have visibly weakened already. And at this moment, a voice rang out, answering her question, isn't the answer obvious? Our ritual hasn't weakened at all. As this voice rang out, the entire building began to shake violently, and fragments of the building began to fall from the ceiling above. Zeke realized the problem, the building is collapsing, it seems this is just the facade of the ritual. This statement startled Lavella. What, does that mean everything we've done has been for nothing? Of course not. First, we have to get out of here. As he spoke, he began to imbue his sword with mana. Next, he plunged his sword into the floor, and created a shockwave that shot straight towards the front wall, causing it to explode. Hold on tight, he said. Zeke embraced Livella's waist and began to jump out of the building before it exploded. So thanks to quick reactions, Zeke and Livella safely escaped the building, but at this moment they had to face an even greater danger. It seemed that the ritual was about to be completed, while the entire building had collapsed due to the shock. The statue of the evil god Valor was still floating. Even at this moment it emanated an even more terrifying aura. And at this moment behind the two, the mastermind vice mayor also spoke up. Isn't it beautiful? Livella heard his voice and she started to turn her face back, gritting her teeth and saying each word, Vice Mayor. I don't hate that title, but why don't you call me by my name from now on? My name is Alex Grotham. Why are you making that face? Don't you like the scene in front of you? Alex said with a very satisfied face with what he had done. Then he started to say again, I have a feeling that the ritual has been interrupted. Sorry, but those scribbles you made on the statue had no effect. Livella heard this and wondered, how do you know? Because I helped you. I placed soldiers around the area to lead you to the statue. In order to bring you, Livella, into our association. It wasn't easy to bring you here by force, so I made sure that you would find your own way here. By making you think that you had successfully completely prevented the ritual. I thought you would come to destroy the last statue, because I heard him say that he would destroy the other statues and come back. You were eavesdropping, Zeke asked. Alex on this side did not answer his question, but he still liked to explain his plan. You should be grateful. I didn't put any effort on the wanted poster to make it more convenient for the two of you. In just a few hours from now, mankind and this city will become our loyal army. So join me, Ain Livella. Alex said, extending his hand to invite Livella. And Livella on this side, after listening to Alex's plan, she bit her lips slightly and said, I won't let you succeed. Hearing Livella's words, Alex also knew that negotiations were over, so he immediately began to use his power. You don't give me any other choice, huh? Then I have to use force. As he said that, he also began to surround the two with the undead. And in these dangerous moments, people often say their farewells, and Livella is like that too. Thank you, Mr. Zeke. For what? Zeke wondered. If it weren't for you I would be dead. So run, I'll try to stop him with all my strength. Zeke, hearing this, said, are you thanking me instead of blaming me for giving you false hope? Alex interjected, breaking up their emotional talk. If you don't know anything, don't pretend to. Zeke replied confidently, but I know that the stupid seal I drew won't do anything. And you helped us bring Livella to you. Hearing this, Alex felt confused. You speak so confidently, so why did you do as I wanted? We need time. Zeke said this softly. Alex on this side was still surprised, not understanding the meaning of these words. Then a loud explosion started to sound from behind. This explosion also made Zeke feel relieved, because the person he was looking for was coming. We need to buy him some time, but I guess you don't know who we're talking about. Known as the Wige killing machine. You are about to die with him. Hearing this name, Alex's face was filled with confusion, sweat pouring out like a stream. Wige, there's no way he could have come back. He must have left this city already. I told him to go back there, Zeke said in a very carefree voice. These words also made Alex grit his teeth in anger. At this moment, he also knew that he could only fight to the death. Immediately after, he also used all of the power of this book. No matter how strong that bastard was, he would be powerless if he was caught up in the ritual. After he finished speaking, the book in Alet's hand also lit up. Then right after that, a giant column of water also erupted behind Zeke and Livella. Next, this water column also transformed into the shape of a giant snake. Zeke saw that and immediately told Livella, don't panic and stay behind me. But Livella wasn't just for show either. She immediately used her divine powers to strengthen Zeke. I am a candidate priest of the Carwoodmen. I will fight too, she said with a voice full of determination. Zeke heard that and also laughed, so trustworthy. Having said that, he also entered a fighting stance. At the same time, on the opposite side, the giant water snake had also closed in right in front of him. Then, the water snake opened its mouth wide, intending to swallow both of them, and also raised its sword high, stabbing it into its throat. Finally there was a big explosion, which... Alet saw this scene and also started to turn away. It seemed like he thought the battle was over. At the same time, he also did not forget to comment a few more sentences. That move also consumed magic power, but it was quite satisfying. No one could survive it. Unexpectedly, before he could finish his sentence, Zeke's voice rang out, what, is that all? After saying this, both Zeke and Livella also started to walk out from the water curtain. Alex saw this scene and was so shocked that his mouth opened. How could it be? The person who took that hit must have been head on. And in answer to this question Zeke started the explanation program again. No matter how big the water column is, if you reduce the water pressure, it is no different from a gentle waterfall. But as he explained this far, Zeke realized something, so his voice started to change. There he was. Killing Machine Wige. At this moment, Wige's body was full of blood and murderous intent. Someone was about to die. Just seeing Wige's figure made Alex shiver, but he still tried to act dangerous. Wige, I will definitely turn you into a sacrifice. But before he could finish speaking, Wige immediately approached him and swung his sword, causing him to hastily throw away the book and run away. At the same time, this book fell to the ground right after leaving Alex's hand. Then the face on this book started screaming like a pig being slaughtered. And Wige saw that it was screaming so loudly that he immediately gave it a sword to the throat. The book was silent after being hit, not knowing if it was dead or not. This sick Valor artifact is disgusting, Wige started to say in a contemptuous voice when he saw the face on the book. But at this moment, the statue that was floating in the air suddenly began to undergo some kind of change. First the pedestal under it began to fall. Then a tremor started to happen. Alet saw this scene and started laughing out loud as if he was crazy. Haha, it's finally begun, God's judgment day has come. Wige heard that and immediately pointed his sword at his face and said, ridiculous, the book was already destroyed, how could that be possible? As for Alex, even though he had a sword pointed at him, he still spoke confidently. As long as his life force had drained into the ground, the ritual will automatically begin. Once it begins, nothing can stop it. It will not stop until the entire city has been annexed. Now, an underground stream that carries the Valor's energy rises to the surface. But somehow, just as he said this, the tremor suddenly stopped, just like the way it appeared. Alet then started to panic. Why nothing happened? Zeke also started to explain. You want to know why? The magic seals I drew on those statues are real, you know. It's true that the real magic seals disrupted the ritual. How does that feel, that wonderful, fleeting hope? Zeke said with a bright smile. So the result of the battle is that the ritual was prevented and Alex was arrested. The next morning, everyone in the city returned to their daily lives, unaware that they had just overcome a great danger. At this time, Zeke's group and Lavella's group were preparing to say goodbye. Before parting, Wige began to speak. Thank you, Zeke. Thank you very much, Zeke. I was able to quickly find out that young Miss Lavella was in danger thanks to your notes. I'm glad nothing bad happened before I got here. Zeke quickly replied, I just calculated the time it would take Han to find you. It's mainly thanks to Han, who worked like a dog to find you. Well, we're off, he said, reaching out to shake Lavella's hand to say goodbye. Lavella, still feeling a little regretful, said, you could rest longer at the temple. No, I need to go. My next destination has been decided, and with that, the two groups officially parted ways. Lavella's group returned to the temple. At this time, Lavella also revealed to Wige some information she had heard. I heard from Han that Mr. Zeke is the eldest son of the Steel Will family. This information surprised even someone as calm as Wige. You mean the great descendant of the kingdom, that Steel Will family? Yes, although I'm not sure if he was joking or serious. Wige stroked his chin thoughtfully. I understand, then we shouldn't mention him in the report. If they find out that he taught us the magic seals that disrupted the ritual, Valor will hunt Zeke down. Yes, that's the right thing to do, Lavella said. Then Wige said goodbye to Lavella to report everything to the Pope. And immediately after Wige left, a mysterious dark shadow appeared behind Lavella. Then a voice began to speak. Are you Lady Ain Lavella? Hearing this voice, Lavella turned around and asked, who are you? On the opposite side, this person began to introduce himself with a smile. Hello, my name is Gren Zenard. Hearing this, Lavella vaguely guessed who this person was. Are you the elite holy knight, sent by divine command to help? Gren said, it's an honor that an outsider like me can volunteer for Carwoodman. But at this moment, Lavella suddenly had a question. How do you know me? Have we met before? Other people have told me that you are like this. I was originally planning to introduce myself in a more crowded place, but you look unwell. Me? Lavella asked, puzzled. Yes, forgive my rudeness, but are you perhaps worried about something? If you want, I can listen to your troubles. Lavella quickly waved her hands in refusal. It's okay, thank you, but I'm not particularly worried about anything right now. I think I just look worried because I'm tired. Gren realized that he had only just met this person and was already asking so many questions, so he softened his tone. I didn't mean to keep you when you're tired, please rest, it was nice to meet you. Hearing his words, Lavella left immediately. But because of that, she didn't see Gren's terrifying face darkening. Something has changed, he muttered. Meanwhile, at this time, in the area near the mining city of Seoul, Zeke's group was moving and fighting, mainly training Han to increase his strength. At this time, Han had just defeated a giant monster, although it made him a little tired. After seeing this, Zeke praised, "Now you can even kill big trolls." Hearing this, Han started to laugh shyly, hee hee. But right at this moment, a cry for help rang out, attracting the attention of both of them. Next, in front of them, there was a small young man being chased by a group of goblins. So Zeke stepped in to save him. With just one sword swing, he killed 4 goblins in one blow. This scene made the small young man who was running stop in his tracks. Then he turned around and said, "Thank you for saving me." At this time, Han, who was next to him, asked, "But why were you being chased by goblins?" Hearing this, the small young man began to scratch his head and said with a smile, The thing is, I'm in training to be an adventurer." Hearing this, both Zeke and Han were puzzled. Adventurer training. The boy on the opposite side knew that these two didn't seem to understand very well, so he started to explain in more detail, "I'm currently a minor, but my dream is to become an old adventurer. I'm in training now." He had only gotten this far, when a loud shout came from behind. "Hey, get over here, you can't even kill a single goblin yourself." This statement was from a man with a very displeased face. The young man, after hearing the man's scolding, quickly said, "Yes, I'm coming right now. May I ask your name? I'll be sure to repay you later." "I'm Snock." Hearing this, Zeke said only one word, "Zeke." "Alright, see you later." After speaking, Snock returned to the man. At this time, Han was still wondering, a teacher for becoming an adventurer, he's never heard of that profession. Zeke didn't care much about this matter. He picked his ear and said, "Why not? Enough with the nonsense, let's fight that monster." Following Zeke's gaze, behind Han was a giant troll preparing to attack him with a club. Switching back to Snock, both of them were moving into a mine. The man in front then began to speak in an annoyed tone, "Use mana to move, will you?" "Yes," Snock quickly replied. But right after that, his foot hit a protruding rock above. And just like that, his whole body fell to the ground. This made the man in front even more annoyed. "How many more times are you going to fall? I can't take it anymore. Training ends here today." These words startled Snock, who was hugging his knees. "That's it. Get out of my sight," the man said. Hearing this, Snock began to panic. "Wait, I want to practice more." And just as he was about to chase after the annoyed man in front, suddenly, a small mole bumped into his foot. This made Snock start to wonder, where did this mole come from? "That's the collapsed mine, this place could be dangerous for it." Saying this, Snock sat down and said to the small creature in front of him, "It's very dangerous here, so please go back to your family." After saying that, Snock started to turn around and leave, but when he took one step, the little mole also took one step. He took 2 steps, and it followed with 2 steps as well. This made Snock feel uneasy, so he turned around and said, "Why are you following me? Don't tell me you have nowhere to return to." But after he said that, the mole didn't react at all, which also gave Snock a headache. What to do now? "How about this, do you want to come with me?" Switching the scene to Zeke and Han, both were having dinner inside a shop. Han was the first to speak. "Mr. Zeke, I've always been curious about something along the way here. Why did you choose Seoul as the next destination?" "That was where we were going after leaving Porty," Han said while eating. Han's words surprised Zeke a little. "You still remember, unexpected. I'm not stupid enough to forget things that just happened," Han said. He also began to explain the reason. "Well, it's because that day is getting closer and closer after all." Han heard this and wondered, "What day?" "You wouldn't understand even if I told you. But I guess you could call it the day Seoul is destroyed by the god of destruction, Naum." Back to Snock, who was wondering what to name the mole he had just picked up. "Let's see, I should name you first, Marie Nuzi." "No, something more sophisticated, Naum. From now on your name will be Naum," Snock said while raising Naum high. At the same time, inside the mine, the frowning coach was having a meeting with some mysterious guy. First, the mysterious guy threw a bag full of gold coins at the frowning coach. And the coach, after checking, finished, he also started to smile and said, "So our deal is done. Now I guarantee that idiot has encountered the mole. Then I'll end this teacher-student act with him." And the mysterious guy opposite also said, "Thank you for your help. Thanks to you, I think I can carry out the plan." Back to Zeke and Han. The next morning, both were walking down the street. At this time Han was attracted by the boasting words of countless cunning merchants on this street. "Look here, this stone only appears once every 1,000 years. Indeed, these explosive advertising words attracted Han's attention. But just when he was about to ask for more information about it, then behind him, an old lady started advertising. "Hey handsome, you'll look great wearing this," she said while raising a very colorful shirt. Even the butcher next door didn't want to be outdone. "Young man, try this. This is grilled meat marinated in a very special spice," he said while raising a fragrant roasted pig leg that had just been cooked. And as a result, with just a few advertisements, Han was herded by them like herding chickens. even at this time he was still happily showing off to Zeke. "Mr. Zeke, what do you think? I look very good in this, right? This grill is too great." Zeke saw this scene and darkened his face, not knowing what to say. People like him can bring as much money to the market and it will all be gone. But just as Zeke was thinking this, a voice that caught his attention rang in his ear. "I always knew that Snock would be tricked at some point." Then a miner replied to the man's words, "You mean the retired Grand Master Adventurer, right?" The old man heard this and said annoyedly, "Don't make me talk about it." The shock from that was too great. Snock didn't even leave the house. Zeke, when he heard this story, started to think, "Snock, isn't that his name?" Then Zeke also remembered the words and attitude of the coach and realized, "No wonder I didn't like him, so he's a scammer." And while only slightly thinking, Han bought a bunch of stuff again. "Mr. Zeke, you should try this, it's delicious." At this moment Han had countless foods in his hands. He said, "Try it, but in reality I don't even know which one to try," and Han's interface makes Zeke silent. Looking at this interface, he looks more like a scammer. Cut to evening at some house. At this moment Snock is lying on the bed, looking up at the ceiling with lifeless eyes. It wasn't until he heard Naum's voice that he reacted a bit. "What's wrong, Naum? Are you bored?" While talking, Snock reached out and petted Naum, and Naum really enjoyed it. This image makes Snock's spirit a little better. "Your life is great, you can be happy without worrying about anything." While saying that, Snock scratched Naum's belly, making the little guy extremely happy, but these mindless words made the little guy, start jumping on Snock's face and scratching his hair. Snock saw this and quickly cried out, "Are you getting revenge because I said you don't know how to think?" But suddenly at this moment, the sound of the door opening suddenly rang out, causing Snock to jerk up in surprise. "Who is it?" But no one answered him. Following Snock's gaze, the door outside was wide open, but there was no one outside. This made Snock wonder how the door opened by itself. Thinking of this, Snock also reached out to close the door, but at the same time he also had a strange feeling. "What is this? I feel like someone was just here, or am I mistaken?" Snock thought to himself, not knowing that there was a strange shadow standing behind him. As for Zeke and Han, the two had fun to the point of forgetting everything, and by the time they looked again, it was already dark. Suddenly at this moment Zeke spotted a dark shadow rushing quickly over the roofs. "There are 4 of them, it looks like they kidnapped someone." Han also saw this scene, so he started to worry. "Mr. Zeke, what is that?" Zeke on the other side calmly replied, "Can't you see, it's a person." Then suddenly he noticed something that surprised him. "Isn't that the boy I saw before? Why are they holding the kid when he was already scammed by that old adventure teacher? Is it kidnapping? They clearly look like a suspicious bunch. Should I chase after them? It might be a chance to do good." Thinking of this, Zeke immediately decided, so he threw the pile of food to Han and told him, "Han, go back to the inn first." What about you?" Han asked worriedly. "I have to go for a bit," he said while using all his speed to chase after those guys, to Han's surprise. With just one jump, Zeke leaped straight onto the roof and continued to chase after them. While chasing he didn't forget to shout, "Hey, you guys, let's talk a little. I have something to say about the item you're carrying, you see." But the kidnappers had no intention of talking or stopping. One of them even quickly took out a knife and threw it at Zeke. Of course, for these kinds of ridiculous attacks, Zeke could see through them easily. He even grabbed the knife before it hit him, then threw it back forward. And his target was the one holding Snock. The kidnapper, after getting hit by a knife, lost his balance and fell off the roof. The others saw this and quickly chased after. But at the same time Zeke caught up with them. "Hey, who are you guys?" Zeke said with an emotionless voice. But these kidnappers didn't intend to say much. The leader holding Snock immediately ordered kill him. Right after his words, the remaining 2 subordinates immediately rushed up. Zeke saw that these guys didn't like to talk but liked to chop and kill, so he got so itchy. This damned bunch, when I ask, please answer." While saying that, Zeke also dodged a knife from one of the kidnappers, then immediately punched this guy to the ground. The remaining kidnapper quickly approached from the side, then performed a slash. Unfortunately it was also easily dodged, and so he also gave this guy a knee strike, breaking his nose. The leader, after seeing his 2 subordinates being defeated so easily, immediately ran away. And this also made Zeke a little annoyed. Damn it, they're making things complicated. While saying that, he also jumped on the roof to chase after. So the chase began. At this point they had run deep into the forest, the bastard in front carrying a person, yet running as fast as a dog. Just like that, the 2 continued to chase each other, until they left the forest. The leader immediately ran into the mine and disappeared, just as Zeke was about to run in to chase after. Then he was blocked by 3 subordinates who appeared out of nowhere. These punks just keep popping up, making Zeke's head spin. "Who are you guys anyway? are you clones of those other guys or what? Zeke said with a slightly helpless tone. And these three are acting exactly like the previous three, they don't say a word, just pull out knives and start slashing. But of course, these weak chickens only need 3 sword strikes to send them packing to smell the dirt. But at the same time, he didn't notice anything strange, something was off. Even if they're assassins, their skills are too good, where did these guys come from anyway? The reason I came to this city was because of the impending disaster, but I don't know where these guys came from, appearing so coincidentally like this. Or is it possible that? Thinking this, Zeke started asking one of the kidnappers in front. Are you guys related to the god of destruction, Naum? And while Zeke was still interrogating the kidnappers outside, Snock inside had already started to wake up. Awakened by Naum. Where is this? Snock asked groggily, but before Snock could even get his bearings, a hand grabbed Naum. The one who made the move was the leader of the kidnappers. When Snock saw his close friend being grabbed, he hurriedly shouted, "Let Naum go." The leader didn't pay attention to Snock's pleas for help, and immediately used one hand to choke him. Then lifted him into the air. Interesting. I thought you were a coward. Is it because of your special relationship with this little rat? He said, laughing, while Naum in his hand was still squeaking in panic. After that, it seemed like the leader felt his arm getting tired, so he threw Snock straight into the corner of the wall. To be honest, Snock still didn't understand what was happening. He started coughing after the impact and asked, "What are you talking about?" After saying these words, Snock suddenly realized that this was the collapsed mine. At this moment, his hand was also touching each oar as if searching for something. But suddenly the leader's voice rang out, startling him. "What's wrong? Are you looking for something over there?" Hearing him say that, Snock started to turn back with a panicked face, and before Snock could say anything, he explained, "Your face is written all over with the words, how did you know? It's nothing special, it's just that your eyes are full of sadness and despair. It's as if you're looking at your father's grave." "You know my father?" Snock asked. "Yes, I'm very familiar with him, look closely where the light is radiating from," the leader said, pointing forward. Then he continued, "That's the sealing stone, it's sealing the mythical beast of the mine." Following the gaze of both of them, there was now a stone with strange patterns stuck inside other stones. While working in the mine, your father touched that sealing stone, and he awakened the mythical beast of the mine. That's why this mine and the surrounding area collapsed, and buried your father alive. Are you in pain? Do you feel resentment? Each word of the leader made Snock's body start to tremble, unsure whether it was from pain or awakening. Snock's expression made him extremely satisfied. Now he just needed to add a little more spice, so he started leaning his mouth close to Snock's ear and said, "The thing that stole your father and made you hate being a miner is the mythical beast of the mine." These words really stirred up the anger and rage inside Snock. His face now looked like a rabid dog ready to bite someone. The leader felt that the provocation was enough, so he then started to bring Naum in front of Snock and said, "Now, pass judgment on the monster you hate." Hearing this, Snock started to get confused. "What are you talking about? Why Naum?" The leader started to explain, "This is the culprit who caused the earthquake that killed your father. It's the mythical beast of the mine." It seemed like Naum also understood what this guy was saying, so the little boy's tears started to flow. Snock's expression at this moment was extremely bewildered, shocked, and worried by the sudden news. The leader was still smiling and continued, "It killed your father, and then pretended to be your family. It's probably secretly laughing at you. Now, quickly pass judgment on this damn monster, on the monster you hate." Hearing this, his face started to change. Then, a red light flashed in his eyes. Back with Zeke, he was still cursing those kidnappers just now. That damn guy. Who would have thought that as soon as I asked about Naum, he'd make himself explode? Even the way he spontaneously combusted was flashy. I almost had my clothes burned off. Those assassins also know how to use fire magic and even carry artifacts. Above all, they are also related to Naum, who is ultimately behind them. Thinking this, Zeke had already run to the entrance of the mine, but at the same time, a terrifying power erupted from within. Zeke immediately drew his sword, and got into a battle stance to prepare for any possible situation. But then a little surprised, because the person walking out of the mine was actually Snock. But at this moment his appearance was very different, his hair and eyes were fiery red along with a face full of rage. As soon as he saw this appearance, the word Naum immediately appeared in Zeke's mind. Then Zeke also asked him, "You said your name is Snock. Weren't you captured by the assassin, and what is that aura around you?" Zeke's questions echoed, but Snock just stood there like a statue. This also gave Zeke some judgment. The kid didn't answer. It's like he doesn't have any consciousness, if that's the case. Thinking this, Zeke continued, "Have you ever heard of or known the name Naum?" Immediately after hearing Zeke's question, Snock began to react. Again, he started to bite his lip tightly and then roar angrily. Next, the ground began to shake and countless sharp pillars of stone rushed up to attack Zeke. Luckily he managed to dodge in time. Snaka's violent actions also made Zeke think. Strange, does Snak have such a temper? No, he's usually known as one of the very intelligent people. And as for now, it's like he's too angry to think, just thinking and starting to weave through the stone pillars. Then, in Snaka's surprised eyes, Zeke rushed in front of him. Hey, if you don't want to see bloodshed, you two better take it, Zeke said while swinging his mana-filled sword down. Immediately, Snak erected a stone pillar to protect himself. Unfortunately, when this thing collides with a mana sword, it's like foam. The stone pillar shattered as soon as it collided with the sword. And taking this opportunity, Zeke also gave him a punch and then stepped back. Strange, the punch from earlier was enough to knock away any normal person. It must be because the kid's body has become tougher. And at this time Snak also knew that the opponent in front was very difficult to play with, so he began to concentrate more power. Next, a few more stone pillars stabbed towards Zeke. But before those stone pillars could grow up, they were all trampled. But through this, Zeke also felt that the power of the stone pillars had become stronger. If he continued to let the kid grow like this, I'm afraid he will awaken into a tyrant who dominates the world. If that's the case, then I need to end this before he gets stronger. Thinking this, the sword in Zeke's hand lit up again, and then Zeke rushed to attack Snak. Snak on this side also didn't want to be outdone. As soon as he saw Zeke rushing in, he created a whole forest of stone pillars to block the way. But this is still not enough to make it difficult. Every time a stone pillar grows up, he just needs to use his sword to chop it off. Thanks to this, Zeke was able to get close to Snak again. And just as Zeke unleashed a decisive move to defeat Snak, then a sword blocked his attack. The person who acted was the leader of the Bat Toads. You should cherish your life. Killing others will lead to hell. After saying that, he also swung his sword to push Zeke back. And at this time he also asked, are you the one who made Snak become like this? The leader heard this and laughed. Isn't it great? Hearing the affirmative words from the leader, Zeke was also certain of his speculation. It seems you have merged him with a mythological creature of the earth. Is it the tyrant of Earth Naum, right? Zeke's words made this guy very confused. How did he know the name Naum that this child gave to the mythological creature that had never been revealed to anyone? Who did you hear this from? Who knows? My livelihood depends on this, so I can't say. The leader heard this and didn't intend to say more and immediately began to use his power. So, I have no other choice, I can only use force to solve everything. After saying that, he also started to put a stream of energy inside his body. Immediately after that, his muscles began to grow, bulging to the point that his clothes tore. Finally, after the transformation process was completed, he became a huge guy like Hulk. I didn't intend to use this form to fight in front of people, he said to Zeke, and maybe because his transformed form was too ugly, Snak in the back after seeing this, immediately flew into a rage and jumped to attack him. But after transforming, this big guy's strength has increased a lot. As soon as Snak charged in, he used one hand to squeeze his face tightly. You feel scared of me, how pathetic. Too bad I don't have time to pay attention to you now. After saying that, he threw Snak away like throwing a toy. His actions also made Zeke next to him a little curious. Is it okay for you to do this? Didn't you put all your effort into him? But the big guy on this side isn't too worried. Don't worry, he's so angry that he doesn't have any sense left. After I'm done with you, I'll go find him. Now that the obstacle has disappeared, we can spend some quality private time together. Having said that, he also rushed up. He threw a punch towards him. Luckily he dodged it in time, but this big guy's attack was also incredibly strong. Just one punch was enough to cause the ground to split open. The shockwave from this attack also made Zeke quickly retreat backwards. But before Zeke could regain his posture, the big guy in front had already charged up to attack. This time, he didn't want to dodge anymore, so he used his sword to block this attack. Executing a slash to counterattack immediately, this sudden attack also made the big guy panic a little. And Zeke clicked his tongue a little because this guy barely dodged it. Then Zeke made a stab with his mana-filled sword, but who would have thought that this big guy would use his hand to block this attack? Seeing that the sword couldn't pierce his arm, he even taunted, haha, it's like you're not even hitting me. Try blocking my attack. Saying this, he was also preparing to launch some attack while his sword was stuck in his arm. But before he had a chance to show off, Zeke pulled his sword back, and immediately after that, an explosion occurred at the big guy's wound. And his left arm said goodbye to its owner just like that. Do you like your new look? Zeke taunted back. After saying that, he sent him to meet his teammates with one sword. Speaking of which, where did the little brat go? Scene changes to Han's place for some reason, but at this time he also started running into this forest. Immediately after that he heard a loud noise, so he stopped. Is it an earthquake? I just heard something. As Han said this, he looked around to find out the cause. Then he noticed that there was a person lying unconscious in front of him. Oh, it's that boy from before. Hey, wake up, are you okay? According to Han's words, Snock also began to wake up at this time, but his eyes were still bloodshot. Of course, after Snock woke up, he continued to go crazy again, and this also made Han extremely scared. Han had to dodge the attacks from Snock while starting to think. What's wrong with him? What kind of training did he get that can do that? At this moment, according to Han's gaze, Snock is using his power to lift a giant rock. If I get hit by that thing, I'll just die. Immediately after that, Snock also threw this rock towards Han at an extremely fast speed. I can't dodge it anymore. If I can't dodge it, then thinking this, Han immediately drew his sword. And in some miraculous way, Han was able to slash this giant rock in half. Until he finished slashing the rock, Han hadn't recovered yet. I thought I was dead. But Snock on this side saw that shooting rocks wasn't working, so he started using the rock pillar move. But thanks to the advantage of being small and agile, Han could easily dodge these pillars, while cutting them off on his way. Easy peasy, I can easily handle things like this. But that was just Snock's feint. His real move is this sand wave. Han is really helpless against this attack. Are you kidding me? My whole life I've been working like a stupid dog. Am I going to die? But it seems like Han's luck hasn't run out yet. At the very moment he was most dangerous, a wave of water came flying from somewhere and collided with this wave of sand. Even the power of the wave of water overwhelmed the wave of sand and crashed towards Snock. Seeing this, Snock quickly erected a solid stone pillar. Thanks to it, this wave was split in half. But before Snock could do anything more, then Zeke rushed out from inside the wave, and on the other side Zeke had also thought of a way to calm Snock down. This is the only way to stop him from going crazy. So I beg you, stay awake. And right after that, Zeke's hand made contact with Snock's forehead. At the same time, Zeke also transmitted his mana into his body. At this moment, in the spiritual world inside Snock's head, he was starting to wake up. Where am I? Why? Just as he said this, Snock immediately heard angry growls coming from beside him. These growls came from Naum, whose entire body was now covered in a red mist. When he saw Snock intended to approach, he became more angry. Seeing this, Snock gently began to speak. Hey, someone must be taking over my mind, but in the meantime, I dreamed about you. It's true that my father died in the earthquake you caused. But I understand that you didn't do it to kill my father. You only came out because your seal was broken, and my father was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm sorry for misunderstanding Naum, you must have been hurt. I really want to go back to the days when I didn't know anything, but I don't think that's possible. So Naum, will you together build our future? So with a few touching words and the power of teamwork, comrades, the two made up, and Snock escaped the control of his anger. And the next morning, the soldiers came to seal off the scene of the battle at the mine. People were talking about it, while the experts searched everything to find some trace. Meanwhile, the two key figures in the case were sitting down eating happily together. Did you do as I told you? Zeke asked while eating. Han quickly replied, of course. I testified that I didn't know anything. Just said I went up the mountain because I heard a loud noise. But then Han started to worry and asked, but they really won't find out that we're related to this incident, will they? Zeke calmly said, I've taken care of the body of the person who caused this, so they'll never know. More importantly, they will never imagine that a minor like him is involved in this matter. As they said that, both of them turned to look at Naum and Snock. Then Zeke turned to tell Snock, since the two had made a pact, they wouldn't go crazy anymore. It seems your mana is perfectly suited for Naum. So what are you going to do now? Are you two going to live together? Snock thought for a moment and said, I'm thinking about the fact that Naum killed my father is true, and I can't forget that and act like everything's okay. Zeke listened and pondered for a moment and said, you mean you don't want to accept Naum, if there's nothing to make up for it? So why don't you think of something? This made Snock a little surprised. Something to make up for it. Zeke went on to suggest, you want to be an adventurer, right? So much so that you had to find a con man to learn from. So what do you think about us doing some good together? Zeke said, extending his hand to invite him. Time quickly passed, and the scene changed to the evening in the forest. It seemed that Snock had accepted Zeke's offer, so now the main character was helping him better control his abilities, and the best way was to have Snock spar with him. And the current result was that both of them were evenly matched and indecisive. Turning to Han, he was exhausted, like a bull. But then this young man grit his teeth, and charged to attack again. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Snock saw Han charge to attack so fiercely, and he was startled and quickly used his power to create a stone shield in front of him. But for this flimsy shield, the retainer only had to swing his sword once to cut it in two. In Snaka's dazed eyes, while Han saw him standing there so stunned, asked, "Hey, are you okay?" Turning to Zeke, after seeing the two fight, he stuck his sword firmly into the ground and shouted, "What are you two doing? You're both not focused on studying, one more hour." "Really? Oh no," they complained. But not long after that, during dinner, one accidentally discovered that the two people in front of me were eating like starving ghosts, so I surprisedly asked, "Is the food that good?" "Yes, it's so good it makes you cry," they said, nodding repeatedly. And Snock, after eating a little, asked, "Where are we going now?" "We're going to Osprin," Zeke replied calmly. But this strange place also made Han look at Snock blankly and ask, "Osprin, do you know where that is?" Snock, hearing this, could only shake his head because he had never heard of this place before. Turning back to Zeke, Osprin was a very familiar place to him in his previous life. "Before I regressed, a total of 4 demons had served me, one came from Osprin. I wonder how he is now." "I'm so excited," Zeke thought and unconsciously smiled. And this smile of his made the two cowards in front panic. He's so scary," they stammered, and according to the gaze of this group of people, Zeke's face really looked like a demon king. Time passed quickly. At this time, the group had approached a fortress of some kind, and although they were not close, they could smell a very strange smell. "What is that smell?" "I don't know, but it's definitely not food," Han said as he sniffed. But the one in front immediately said the answer, "That's the smell of burnt corpses." What, burnt corpses?" the 3 people in the back said with their mouths open, including Naum. And Zeke also felt a little curious and wondered if this was just a fire, or if monsters had invaded, he thought to himself. But before Zeke could think too much, a loud shout rang out from behind them, causing the group to pay attention and turn around. "Who is that? State your name quickly." This statement was from 2 people dressed as soldiers. And Han and Snock, seeing them, freaked out completely, even unable to speak. We are just travelers, we're here to find a place to sleep for the night. Is there a problem?" Zeke said calmly. At the same time, he also observed the soldiers in front of him and thought, "What are these knights doing here?" Turning back to the 2 knights, they whispered to each other, "They look like travelers. All the roads leading to this village are blocked, so that means they came here through the mountains. We can't be sure they aren't escapees from the village, so let's just take them to the camp first. Maybe they're infected too." "Shoo, speak quietly," they whispered to each other, and Dong heard all these words. "Come with us," the 2 suggested, and Zeke happily accepted this. Just like that, their group was led to some tent area. And more precisely, they were led to the commander's tent. "Young master, we found some suspicious people, bring them in," the person inside said. Then the voice inside asked again, "What's going on?" The young man with the spear, hearing this, explained everything. "We found them in the forest. They said they were travelers. I don't think they came from the village." "I understand. I am Johim Drackle. I am the commander of the army that came to solve the village issue." The noble young man in front calmly introduced himself. And Zeke, after seeing the familiar face on the opposite side, happily recalled the memories of his previous life. "Hey, one of the 4 people who traveled around the continent with me, it feels like just yesterday we were going through all sorts of things together and raising a glass to celebrate." Thinking of this, Zeke stepped forward and introduced himself. "I am Zeke. The people behind me are Han and Snock. The little kangaroo on Snaka's shoulder is Naum." Johim, seeing them so polite, said with a smile, "I understand. I apologize for asking like this on our first meeting, but where are you all from?" "We came from Seoul. I was training my subordinates in the mountains, so I didn't know the road had been blocked." On the opposite side, Johim frowned a bit after hearing this. Then he immediately said with a smile, "Okay, I believe you," and this statement immediately caused the guard beside him to remind, "Young Master Johim, maybe they are people who escaped from the village." Johim, hearing this, turned and reassured, "Calm down. Whoever they are, I don't intend to let them leave this place." "Huh, what do you mean?" Han asked anxiously, and before this statement of his, Johim gradually explained everything. "Since you've come here, you'll have to come with us for a while, because there is an infectious disease here, is that right?" Zeke said, and this made Johim a little surprised. "You already knew, the clues were obvious," Zeke said with a smile. And Johim could only sigh and explain everything again. "That's right. There is an infectious disease spreading inside this village, and we were sent here to prevent it from spreading further. Since you've come here, it's possible that you've been infected, so I can't let you leave the village." "I understand," Zeke said calmly. Meanwhile, the attendant Han in the back nodded in agreement. "Even young Master Zeke understands the horror of infectious diseases," I thought he would argue. And just as he thought of this, Zeke in front said a word that surprised him and Snock. "Then is there anything I can do to help?" But before Johim could even reply, a knight suddenly rushed in from outside the door, panicked, and said, "Sir, one of the infected has developed new symptoms." Upon hearing this, Johim's face immediately turned pale. And immediately the whole group rushed to where the infected person was. And when they arrived, the scene before them made even a person like, character name, break out in a cold sweat. Because, according to everyone's view, the infected person was lying in a pool of blood for an unknown reason. Speaking of Johim, after seeing this, he quickly instructed his subordinate, "Record this symptom and follow the decree." "Yes, sir," the subordinate quickly replied. Johim's quick reaction also made Zeke quite satisfied. "My subordinate is different, his reactions are very experienced," he thought. Zeke also noticed Johim's pale face and asked, "Are you alright? You look quite pale." "Oh, no, I'm just a bit afraid of blood," Johim said with a smile. And this statement made the Demon King Zeke dumbfounded. "Huh, you're afraid of blood?" "Yes, I have hemophobia," Johim said with a forced smile. And after hearing this, his eyes widened. "No way." Before the regression, he was known as a vampire whose ability was blood manipulation, yet he just told me that he's afraid of blood. What's going on? Is he daring to lie to me? No, wait. I think vampires might have actually had personalities like that at this point in time, Zeke thought to himself. Meanwhile, character name, was blaming themselves. "I'm so stupid, aren't I?" "You don't like that hemophobia of yours?" Zeke asked curiously. "How could I like it? This hemophobia is the only thing that has always caused trouble for me," Johim said in a frustrated voice, then fell silent. And Zeke on the opposite side immediately understood. It seems like he doesn't want to delve into that detail about himself. "Well, that's the vampire I used to know. Even before the regression, he only ever told me where he came from." Thinking of this, character name, placed a hand on the shoulder of his old comrade and comforted him. "Don't worry, I'm sure you'll get over it. You'll get used to it to the point where you can consider bathing in blood a daily pleasure." "Thank you," Johim said awkwardly, while wondering what the whole bathing in blood thing meant. Time passed quickly, after this incident, because we couldn't leave the village, we helped Johim and his soldiers. We did our best to eliminate the disease in the village. But the results weren't very promising. In the end, they had to burn the entire town to extinguish the seeds of the epidemic. From the top of the mountain, looking at the fire below, even a fool like Han could feel the horror of the epidemic. "Like that, I don't think anyone could have survived," he said in confusion. And Johim, standing next to him, replied helplessly, "So this is the final result, that even effort couldn't change." On this side, Zeke heard this, looked over at him, and asked, "You must be very angry." "Of course, I feel terrible for the people who died from the epidemic, as well as for this burning village. And I also feel terrible for all of our friends and the effort we put in," Johim said in an emotional voice. This was very different from the Johim he knew before. Turning back to Johim, he bowed before Zeke's group and said, "Without your help, we wouldn't have been able to get this far. Thank you for everything." Zeke, seeing this, coughed awkwardly a few times and said, "Of course, the reason I travel around is to do good deeds, after all. As do these guys." "You're so noble and kind," Johim said with a smile. Next, he proposed to Zeke's group, "We've reported the situation to the Duke's castle, so we'll be ordered to return there soon. If there's no problem, I would like to invite all of you to come with us there." Our Demon King, upon hearing this, readily agreed, "I won't refuse." And as if his wish was granted, right after Zeke finished saying this, one of Johim's knights ran over and said, "Sir, something from the castle," he said, holding up a letter. "And who knows what this letter says?" But as soon as Johim finished reading it, his face turned purple. What does the letter say? He looks so tense, Zeke wondered to himself. As for Johim, after finishing reading it, he gently put away the letter and ordered, "Everyone, prepare to leave." "Yes, sir, are we going home?" the red-haired guy said excitedly. But unfortunately for his expectations, Johim's order was completely different. "No, we're going to another village, infected," Johim said as he turned and left. And this information made the soldiers under his command terrified. This was understandable. After all, going to a place full of disease wasn't comfortable. "If I get infected, I'm gonna die." Turning to Zeke, he also sensed a dark odor here. How interesting, they sent him to another infected village even though he is part of a noble family. Usually they wouldn't do this to the nobility, I am almost certain, so there must be a reason to do that here. Infection and death are a part of the mission here. Cut to a luxurious castle. A fat pig has also died inside the mansion. Smashes his seat, then yells at the person in front of him, "Damn it, you said the disease was serious enough to wipe out an entire village. Then how is that bastard still alive?" he said, pointing at the butler. In response to this question, the old butler said as he bowed his head, "Please forgive me, but he got lucky. I heard all the soldiers following him and the doctors in the village died. Why is he still alive? He said as he threw a decorative vase which shattered into many pieces. The nasty pig continued, come up with another plan right now. A plan that will deal with Johim for sure this time. Returning to Zeke's group, after looking at the body that was being burned in front of him, Han muttered. That's it, with the bodies here. This whole village has eventually died out because of the disease. While Zeke was thinking to himself, we still haven't received any orders to retreat to the castle, and as he was thinking this, our demon king also felt something and quickly stood up and gripped his sword. What's wrong, young master? Han asked in surprise. But Zeke was not too concerned with this question. At this moment he looked ahead with a dangerous look in his eyes and shouted, show yourselves. At his request, several men wearing cloaks identical to the guys who kidnapped Snock came rushing out of the forest. After appearing, these men did not say a word, but simultaneously threw the knives in their hands at them. And of course, these silly knives could not cause any trouble for Zeke. With a few simple sword swings, he was able to easily knock all of these knives away. Afterwards, he immediately recognized the identity of these people, hoods. Just like the assassins from before, he thought to himself. Zeke was furious and instructed the two people behind him, Han, Snock, each of you take one of them. After saying that, he did not give these two timid people time to react before rushing forward to attack head-on. I'm going to get a headache if I keep thinking about why they did this, so I'll just capture this guy and extract information from him, Zeke thought as he flew straight for one of the assassins. But before he could control the assassin, this crazy guy started playing the suicide card. More precisely, before Zeke could touch him, this man exploded like a bomb. Although this move did not have much of an effect on Zeke, it made it difficult for him to capture. That is the same artifact as the one from Seoul and also uses the same method of fighting. Why did these assassins come here? Zeke wondered to himself, as an assassin who didn't know life and death rushed straight at him. And as a result, he split the assassin in half with a single sword stroke. Think carefully, their purpose in Seoul was to turn Naum into a demon, so if I assume that their purpose here is the same, then the person they are targeting is probably Johim Drackle, the person who will one day become my close teammate. What does him becoming a demon have to do with these guys? If creating demons is feasible, as he says this, he also remembers something and muttered, wait, if it is during this period that demons began to appear on the continent, that is why people call this period the era of demons. If these guys are the ones who created all the demons, it can't be all demons. I'm sure there are people who became demons naturally like me. Wait a moment, what if my journey to becoming a demon king is all part of someone's plan? The more Zeke thought, the darker his face became.